Oh, I can't cover my own face. Hey, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the John Henry Soto Show. Tonight, we're going to be talking about the merge, this big merger that's happening between Paramount Pictures and Skydance. And it's going to be a very interesting conversation. I think it's going to go really well. So please hang tight. All righty. Well, thank you, everyone, for joining us. My name is John Henry Soto, and as always, I'm here with Mr. George Batista, coming to you live from New York. I'm currently in Clearwater, Florida, for a couple more weeks, and then I head back to Nashville and other places. But I'm very excited to be here tonight. We're going to be talking tonight about this big, giant merger between Paramount and Skydance. It's been in the news. If you're in the entertainment world, this is a big deal. This is a big deal. So we're going to be covering not only the numbers, because I think a lot of people are interested in also the numbers of what happens between that, but we're also going to talk about what that means to the individual artists, especially the smaller production houses. I think that's what a lot of companies and a lot of people are smaller, production houses are really wondering how is this going to affect them in the long run, financially and also creatively as well. So this is going to be a very exciting merger, I think, in my opinion. I'll give my 2 cents later on in the show, but for now we're going to be talking about just the overall thing. I'm going to bring George into the conversation. So those of you on this platform over here cannot see it, but on this platform here, you can see him. Actually, I can just go like this. Say hi.
Hey, everybody.
It doesn't really sound that way, but it's fun.
No.
So what are your thoughts on this anyway, from what you've researched and stuff?
Well, it's interesting because there's such a backstory to this. You know what I'm saying? And we'll definitely
big backstory.
I mean, it's a big backstory to this, and so it's kind of like there's a lot of interesting things about it. Where do I think it's going to go? And I think you had a good point where I think there's going to be more mergers moving forward than anything else. I think that it may start a trend in that, and I think part of the problem is because a lot of these companies are realizing the landscape has changed, and survival now is, it's getting harder and harder to survive the entertainment landscape in all facets, whether it's movie studios, whether it's streaming services and all this. And Paramount, is kind of runs the gamut in all of it, right? It's in between all of it, really, because you have you have Paramount Pictures. It was part of Paramount Pictures, Viacom, CBS, and then you have Paramount Plus, right?
Yeah,
that's the streaming service, which they were trying to, and I kind of understand, like their initial idea was they wanted to be a Netflix competitor and kind of get into that landscape, but unfortunately has proven not to really be profitable at this point.
Right. I think what they were hoping was exactly that, but you can't go into something like that without having enough material.
Right. Without
having enough original programming. Netflix put out, I don't know, 20-something, 30-something shows or something like that, or even more than that. I don't remember the numbers, but they put a ton of more original shows. So you can't, I think what happened is, and this is interesting because it's these big companies feel like they already have so much already that they don't have to work hard at future things, but not realizing that content now is consumed so quickly, so fast. It just comes and it goes as fast as they make it. So they can't sit there and think, well, we're Paramount. We have all these great movies and all these great TV shows that we can just throw on this Paramount Plus, and that's it. No, you can't. You better innovate. You better come
Yeah.
up with creative shows. You better come up with something. And even Netflix, has had their difficulties doing that. They've kind of green lighted shows that have really upset the masses, and they've lost millions of subscribers because of what they thought was going to be a profitable thing. So you have to be very, very not careful, because you can never be careful, because being careful never gets you anywhere. You gotta take the risk. You gotta jump into stuff, right? But
Right.
they need to be a little bit more aware of who's watching their platforms and what people are consuming and what people enjoy. They should be doing surveys. They should be doing a massive spend, like a couple $1 million on a massive survey, reach, to find out and to really narrow down what people are interested in. Now, I hate that, because it's like, just dealing to those people, and that's what but it gives you a good sense of what people are interested in. Do people want reality TV shows, or do people want live shows, live shows, or do people want more the talk show format? Are people interested in bringing talk show, these types of platforms, podcast shows to a bigger audience, and making somebody like a Joe Rogan or one of these big podcasters. I mean, he's the biggest, but one of these guys, to give them their own platform, their own show, where it's an actual show. Do they want to do something like that? Maybe not for Joe. I don't think he wants that, but I think a lot of other people might decide. They'll have like millions of subscribers and of viewers, and they may want something like that. So they have to do this type of work in order to really get some answers, on what they're going to be putting out, because Paramount, they're famous for doing a couple of things in the past, attacking a few major celebrities that were going against the grain on something that they push heavy on. And then they they tried to cancel one particular, but we're not going to get into the specifics of who, but they tried to cancel someone. And of course it didn't work, because this person had much more reach than they could even imagine. And now, funny enough, Skydance is part of that organization, that person, with a bunch of other people, taking over Paramount. So this is kind of like, well, you had your chance and you blew it, and now here you are having to. And it was funny when I heard Paramount and Skydance the first time that this was put out there. I had no idea that Skydance would be the ones buying.
Yeah.
I'm thinking Paramount is way bigger. Like, I didn't even know what Skydance was. I mean, I knew what it was because I've seen them, but
yeah,
no idea that they would be the one doing the purchasing. I mean,
there were other companies. There were other companies in that whole thing.
Yeah,
huge companies that wanted to take it.
And it shows you how they've fallen.
Yeah.
How Paramount has fallen. The great Paramount is just no longer. Now they're just going to be a portion underneath this umbrella, which is kind of embarrassing when you think about it. You know what I mean? It's like, they used to be, Kellogg's cornflakes, and now they're like Kellogg's, brand, brand flakes. It's like they just lost their place in the industry, which is kind of remarkable.
And it gets complicated when you've got board of directors and investors, right? When you've got investors who are going to kind of lose versus the folks at the top who are going to win.
Right. Well, that's what mergers always do.
Right.
Somebody is going to lose because somebody put a lot of money into one company thinking that they were going to be at the top of the hill. Next thing you know, they're being purchased by another company. The people that invested into that company, they're going to do well because they're taking over. But the people that were here, they're going to lose out.
But then you have lawsuits, right? Which there's been lawsuits because the deal in theory is supposed to give is supposed to be the best for all involved. right? That's kind of the theory behind the way the deal is
Well,
supposed to be, and
right.
it usually isn't, and then you end up having lawsuits, and they've already gone through a couple of lawsuits regarding some of their mergers before, and how much they had to pay out.
Correct. And they also lost probably the most important thing, reputation.
Yeah,
Their reputation now is because this hit the media, and I think that's one of the reasons why, what's her name, Shari. That's one of the reasons why I think she didn't want, she turned down, which was kind of very strange for her to do that. I think we had watched a little bit of this about it's really unheard of someone of this magnitude, this type of a deal coming together, and then it taking this long, and
right.
then backing away, and then coming back, and then backing away, and then finally, that's very strange. And
Right.
that just goes to show you at how the insecurities and how mismanaged Paramount has been. And it probably has been mismanaged for, I would say, the last 15 years. Paramount has not been managed correctly. And I think that's definitely part of the tragedy of it.
I think also, just from what I'm been hearing, and kind of the background landscape of cord cutting and the streaming services and all this, because the Paramount Plus was they were trying to have Paramount Plus be their baby, but I think, and this is just my speculation, that Shari, she kind of padded the deal for herself basically, but
Right.
I think she sees the future. She's looking at the future, and I think she's really kind of seeing the writing on the wall, and I think she doesn't have faith in Paramount Plus, the streaming services in general.
She knows.
And because remember, they're losing money. A lot of them are losing, but with the exception of maybe Netflix, but even Netflix has lost some, but the other ones are not profitable. Okay. The other ones are, and Paramount Plus, since it began, has lost money.
Yeah, and
And
the solution is
and
to
I think there's a kind of a bubble feel to it, actually.
It is, and I think there's a bubble feel, and I want to actually have that written down. That not just Paramount, all streaming services
Yes,
are
agreed.
going to have a crash at some point because
Agreed.
people are consuming from a lot of platforms now. And you know what? Let's be honest. We're all tired of having to pay for Netflix, for Paramount Plus, for Discovery Plus, for Hulu,
Right.
for YouTube TV, for, you know what I mean? Apple
Yeah.
TV. There's just too much, and every month you get hit. You get the hit. I had a bunch of those. I got rid of a lot of them, but I used to have them because I thought, okay, this would be good for the kids. There's a couple of shows I want to watch on there. And you start, but when you start doing the math, at the end of the month, you're down, $200 with
Yeah.
just streaming services, and you're like, wait,
Yeah.
what is going on? And they're going up.
Yeah.
They're increasing the prices too.
And that's when we go back, the idea of streaming services was like the anti-cable, right? That's where it was. It was like when streaming for
TV.
Right, exactly, right. So cable got to the point where it was people were paying $230 a month for a package. Okay, I know people personally that were paying that. Okay,
I know, I was paying that.
and then it became, wait a minute, streaming services, the Netflix at the time was like $10 a month, and then Sling TV was $20 a month. I remember because I had that. I paid $20 a month. I was like, this is beautiful. I don't have to pay $200. I'm paying $20. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, yeah, exactly. Because now you're seeing these services now actually start to match cable.
Yeah.
Because just like you said, you have to pay for all these things.
Yeah.
Plus, on top of that, you're paying for internet. Okay. And internet, now, if you want fast internet, that's not cheap either.
No.
So by the time you're done, you're paying $100 to $150 for all the stuff. So it's like, where's the, you're not getting savings anywhere.
Yeah, and I think what is going to happen is there's probably going to be one particular company, and I don't know which one it is, but Sean says you either innovate, find out what the best in your field is doing, and do it better, or get eaten up. Yep, that's
True.
exactly right. And you have to figure out by surveys and finding out what is it that the other people are doing, what is it that people are enjoying to watch. what is interesting, what do people want,
Right.
and nobody can really answer that question. Go listen to that. I've listened to a lot of the interviews of the CEOs of all these companies, and they're like, they never talk about what the people want because
Right.
they don't know. All they know is that they have this amazing technology where they can stream a bunch of stuff to households across the country, provided they pay. That's all the information they have. So
Yeah.
if somebody is going to narrow down what it is that people are really interested in and bring those shows together and start creating on those shows. And I think what's gonna end up happening is more mergers are gonna occur, but they're gonna be a little bit different mergers. I think the mergers are gonna be the streaming services with with smaller film houses that will merge together to create the content, like companies that are really creating and innovating, social media influencers, people that have millions and millions of more followers than some of the networks, right?
Yeah.
And they create a ton of content. I personally know, not personally, well, yeah, personally, some people on social media that have millions of followers, and they create content, very funny content. They pay for it themselves. They produce it. They put it out, and it gets a lot of views. They sell time on their pages. They get income coming from YouTube, from different platforms. So they're making an income.
Right.
The content is so good that let's just, an example is like Key and Peele, right? So if these two guys came out today, they would be on these social media platforms crushing it.
Right.
Right. They'd be making hilarious videos. They'd be making all these stuff, and somebody is going to go look at them and pull them out and put them onto it somewhere. This is what's going to end up happening, but it's not going to be the networks. It's going to be the streaming services, because they already have the technology. They already have the email addresses. They have the infrastructure to basically take these people and create around them. Now, the bigger
Right.
networks have, the Paramounts and the Skydance. They all have that too. They have the money for that, but they don't have the reputation for that. Like, nobody goes and says, "Oh, I'm going to watch that new streaming service on Skydance or on Paramount Plus." Nobody's watching these things. It was clear that it was a failure the way it was released.
Yeah.
I just don't think that they thought about putting enough content together to have a real release. So now you have new shows coming out. Not just say like Paramount, watch these old shows that we've had in the can for years, and watch a couple of maybe new things here and there. It's not the way to do it. And so I think that's what's going to happen in the future. It's going to be that's the only way that some of these companies are going to survive.
But it's interesting when you said about the surveys and stuff. Another thing that people have to realize, there is so much, and you kind of touched on this in the beginning, there is so much content that is free.
Yes.
That you don't have to pay for. Okay. Perfect example. Okay.
Sorry. Yeah.
Pluto TV.
Oh yeah.
Which is part of that whole thing. Okay. Right. Never charged a dime. Right. They have 79 million monthly users, including myself, because I love Pluto TV. I watch it all the time. Okay. But it's a cable style thing, and you get all the old shows. Plus you actually get new stuff, but it's released like a week later. And, but it's there, it's free, and it's there, and you can put it on your phone. You can put it on your TV. You can put it on your computer, anywhere. Right. Okay. Roku now has its own channels. Okay. I have a Roku, same thing. It's free, cable style. You can watch hundreds of channels. Okay. Yeah. All these things. And then of course, YouTube in and of itself. Yeah, okay. Which has been doing it forever. Right. Also has a ton of content on it. So you could take those three things, just those three things alone, and you could be watching stuff for years, right? Because it's free content. And I think they also have to realize that there's so much free content out there that a lot of people are not going to pay. They're going to be like, why am I paying all these fees? Forget about going to the movies, because movies is actually going to the movies because that is so expensive. Okay, for the experience. I could just sit home. I can be on my phone and watch any of these things for nothing. you know, and that's part of that landscape too.
It is. And I think that Roku is a big player as well.
Yeah.
And companies like that, like Pluto and those kinds of organizations. I think also an interesting thing that you brought up about, you know, the free, all the free stuff, right? I mean,
Right.
there's so much free stuff. It seems like we're reverting back to when TV was free.
Right. Exactly.
You know, all we
Yes.
paid for was we paid for the electricity, and that was
Right.
it. Now we're paying for
Exactly.
the you know, we're paying for the internet, but now internet is also pretty reasonable. You can get an internet connection for under $100.
Yeah.
You get it for everything, and you got your computers, you got your any televisions you have in the house. You can attach your phone to it, all that stuff with with whatever internet service that you want. And another point that reminds me also of the finances is that the economy, you know, right now, and you know, not my economy, but overall, right?
Yeah.
People's economy overall, things are expensive. I've noticed things are expensive.
Yes.
You know what I mean? I buy all the food. We do a lot of cooking in the house. We you know, so I look at I know what we're spending. I go shopping. I had like it was like I bought like, and again, I don't buy, you know, I mean, I buy things that are a little bit more expensive because they're better quality.
Sure.
So I buy things that are just better quality, right? So I
Right.
come home with like 2 bags, and it's like $80
Yeah.
for 2 bags of stuff. You know,
Right.
you get like the good kinds of like I get these cookies that I have them right here actually. Well, I don't want to promote them. I don't have the right to promote them yet. But anyway, but I get these cookies that are really healthy and they're actually good for you, and you can eat a few of them. It's not, you know, they're approved by certain Bobby approved and the Dr. Bergs and stuff like that. One bag is like 5 something. So you get 2 bags of small cookies, you're already over $10.
Yeah.
You know, so all that is going to affect the entertainment that people are going to want to watch.
Correct.
Because they're thinking, wow, I can't afford to pay $200, $150 for all these streaming platforms.
Yeah.
You know, and that's where it's going to get, you know, and it's going to be carnage at some point. There's going to be bloodshed with some of these companies. They're going to be sold for pennies. Investors are going to lose a ton of money, just like they're doing right now. That's why all the lawsuits are happening, because they're losing. They invested. They had some kind of I don't know the legal terms of investment for stocks, but they probably had some type of agreement that if there was a merger of some type, that they can get some type of a buyout again and get at least recover a certain percentage of their money. And maybe that's not happening on a lot of them. So this is going to continue to happen, and more companies are going to lose a lot. And the ones that are organized, that care about their viewers, that really care about their viewers, not care about the platform's profitability.
Yes.
You know, because I mean, yes, at the end of the day, that's what keeps the lights on and gets everyone paid and gets the show on. So money has to be made. Money is a good thing. Wanting money is good. It's not a bad thing. But you also have to provide value. And if you're not if you're not overly providing value, they're going to go somewhere else, which is what's been happening. People go to Netflix because some stuff is out. Okay, I'm done with Netflix. They cancel it, you know. And it's something Netflix does something really, really ridiculous, you know, and that they, you know, some woke thing that they put out, and they thought that it was going to be a huge hit. Turned out to backfire like everything else woke does, and it bit them in the butt, and they lost millions of dollars, and they lost hundreds of thousands of subscribers, right? That was Netflix. They're still recovering from all that. Right. Hulu, then you go to Hulu for a little while. And then Hulu, then you get off of Hulu. Then you go to you know, Paramount Plus. Then you go to Discovery Plus. Then you go to, I think CBS has one, right? I don't know what it's called, but they have something. I thought they called. Oh no, the NBC has the Peacock.
A Peacock,
Peacock, right? So all these platforms are kind of in the same boat right now. They have to all look at what they're doing, and also when you have that much money coming in, even though you're losing money or you're not really, you know, but you're making money enough to pay the bills and everyone gets a nice salary, you know, the innovative part of it kind of slows down, because then there's a comfort level. There's a comfort level at Netflix because they're kind of on the top. So I haven't seen them do anything recently that's been mind blowing. They had a Dolly Parton thing that I thought was good. Not too bad. They did the Beverly Hills Cop, which I thought was good. I saw it and I watched it. I really enjoyed it. Just seeing the characters again was fun.
Me too.
So it was just fun movie to watch. And also the other one that they did, I think it was also on Netflix, the Coming to America 2.
Oh yeah.
I thought that was a lot of fun as well. So I think those things, but again, those aren't original things.
Right.
I mean, Axel Foley is 40 years ago.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's they're not innovating. All they're doing is trying to repurpose something that was successful back then, in the hopes that our generation, the Gen X's and and even the millennials are going to understand it because of their parents, right? Are going to understand these old shows. But they're just not doing it. They're not.
But is it the same trap or the same concept that the movie studios are going through, right? Because they're doing the same thing, right? They're just saying, well, we're not going to do anything new. We're just going to add on to this franchise and that franchise and this franchise, and just get the butts in the seats.
The big movie studios need to make big movies.
No, I know. I get that, because
just focus on big movies, because and they've trapped themselves in a corner.
Yeah.
Now where they can't get out unless they make a big movie. Right. So now they're second guessing everything, and everything they second guess on, not everything, but a good portion of it becomes trash. It didn't do what they expected it to do. What was the one that just came out recently that tanked? I can't remember what it was. It tanked so badly that I forgot the name. But
was it the Spider-Man? No, Spider-Man one, was it? Or
I don't know if it was Spider-Man.
There was one that my wife was like, that was horrible, and she loves like that stuff.
Yeah. So
I forgot which one it was.
Yeah, I forgot which one it was, but that's my point, where now they're trapped in having to make those movies now, and you can't, unless you're like guys that can make movies like that, like Tom Cruise and who makes big movies? Tom Hanks. Tom, if your name is Tom, you can make big movies. You know what I mean? Right. But to me, it's sort of like to get people to pay. How much is a ticket nowadays? $20 a ticket, $25 a ticket, and now they have the big IMAX theaters.
IMAX, yeah,
which are like $35 sometimes to sit in. Maybe around that price. I'm not sure. So now you're talking about, I don't know, if it's $25 and you got a family of 4, the tickets are $100. That means when you get there, you're going to get your popcorn, which is way overpriced. Oh yeah, it was Black Adam.
Black Adam.
Yeah, was that recently?
No. Black Adam. That was The Rock.
Yeah, but that one also.
But there was another one that did really, really bad.
But it was recently, though, right?
Yeah, it was recent. Yes,
very, very recently. Yeah. So I think that the price of a movie has to be worth it. It's sort of like a baseball game, right? We know what happened to baseball.
Yeah.
He said 20. No, I think this movie was like a month ago.
Oh.
This was something that came out not long ago, and I'm gonna find.
I thought it was either the Ant movie or the Spider-Man movie, or one of those, or one of them where there was a whole bunch of them together.
Yeah. Recently?
Yeah. Well, I think of maybe 5 or 6 months ago.
Okay.
Maybe more.
Inside Out, Perry, Despicable Me, Quiet Place, Bad Boys. Bad Boys did well, right? The new one.
Yeah, I think so.
I think it was doing pretty good. Cutthroat Island. I don't even know what that is. Anyway.
Well, yeah, there's a couple of
that. Blue Beetle.
Blue Beetle. Actually, my daughter. Was that it?
No.
No, my daughter actually liked that one. I do.
Was it?
She says it was good. I didn't see it, but there's a couple of concepts in the movies that I was reading up on. I thought was very interesting. The again, obviously the pricing and all that stuff, right? But you're not gonna. The one thing that the movie studios and the movie theaters have that is always going to be on their side is the movie experience, right? You're not going to get that anywhere else, right? So you get the big movie, you get the excitement, you get all that stuff, okay? So that's really what you pay for is the experience of being there.
Yeah,
but
sharing it with a big, large group of people who are really enjoying the movie. Yeah,
correct. Now that is one of their saving things, but other concepts that I didn't even think about, right? Besides how much they pay to make the movie and how much they pay the actor and all that, and that gets trickled down, right? You have that. But then you also have the concept of when you and I were young, it took a movie to go from theater to actually a VHS, for example, was what, a year?
Yeah, man.
Right?
Yeah, if you were lucky, it was a year.
If you were lucky, it was a year. Then there was an excitement when that movie came out, right? And then you had this concept of, well, I can't wait a year, so I'm going to go. I love this movie. I'm going to go to the movies and see this movie again, and I'm going to take my friends with me to see this movie, right? Yeah. Then what happened? That has shortened throughout the years, right? Then it got to like 90 days. Then during the pandemic, it was like 45 days. Okay. One thing that I never realized, there's a movie called The Fall Guy, right? That recently came out. Okay. Yeah. You know that movie from theater to streaming was 3 weeks.
Oh yeah. I believe that.
3 weeks. Okay. So now you're eliminating people going to the theater again and seeing the movie if they love it. Right. Yeah. And then people are like, well, if that movie comes out in 3 weeks, why am I going to go to the theater? I could be home instead of spending $100 for my family to watch it. I can spend 10 and watch it on Netflix. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But I think here's another thing that I feel that really destroyed the streaming platforms and was the binge watching, the releasing a whole season
of the whole season. Yes.
And there was always that anticipation of waiting that week. Correct. Not only that, but here's what they lost, and I don't think they even thought about this, because they lost a ton of revenue by being able to have placements promoting the show coming up. What did we do? We would watch, Friday nights at 8 p.m. The Incredible Hulk, right? Or whatever was coming out. We would always be waiting for that Friday night, and then the whole week play ads promoting the show coming up. Promoting the show coming up. So the ad revenue that ad was generating was also lost, promoting that show and building up the show. Not to mention that when the show came out, like remember Thursday nights, was like a huge night. I mean, we had Cheers and Friends was on that time. And I mean, there were all the greatest shows happened during that whole time. Right. And, so that night, the people that were, if you had an ad, if you were a company and promoting on during Friends, and that was one of your commercials, you paid a lot of money to get there, because that half the country is, or maybe most of the country is watching that show. This has gone away, and the streaming services even killed it even further by releasing these shows instead of anticipating and showing like a trailer for like a couple of weeks. This is coming up, and then showing that first episode, and then maybe giving a bonus episode, maybe like a day later. Stay tuned in 2 weeks where we have the next episode, and then start using that anticipation and promoting that to get people to come in. Oh, you haven't seen, you got to see, you could go in now and watch episode 1 and 2, and then episode 3 is next week. You should get a subscription. It was really great. And now people are going to get more, they're going to pay more. It's like, so they lost that. They completely killed it. And I never did that. I was always like, I did that with shows that were already out, that were done. So I did nothing to anticipate, but they're already done. So I would do that and watch a bunch of episodes with my wife and stuff. We'd just sit there and watch the shows when we weren't doing anything. But it killed it. It killed. I mean, imagine Star Trek when you and I were growing up. With everything just was released in one season. 20 something episodes were just put out.
Yeah.
And then we're sitting there all day just watching. And then after we're done, we're done. We're done. There's would the movie even happen? The movies
I
weren't
would
even
like to know who thought of that concept.
somebody young, stupid, without any type of patience. It's somebody that was definitely did not grow up in the era that you and I grew up in, because and I'm sure that they had to fight for that idea. And maybe I'm completely off. Maybe there was some veteran guy who thought, let's just do it all at once. But I think it's the dumbest thing you can do. I think it destroyed the art, the anticipation, also the value of the art. It's like,
Yes.
10 episodes are out, done. Oh, that was
Yeah.
easy for them. They just put out 10 episodes. Well, no, it's not easy. It took them probably a year to shoot all those episodes, to edit those episodes, or maybe even longer to write those episodes. That's a lot of work to just throw out and not even get people that excited about it. And that's the thing that kills me. It's like, when was the last time that you saw a preview for a film that you were just like, yes, I'm so excited for this to come out? I can't remember the last time. I just can't. I mean, maybe the Tom Cruise stuff, because I was, it's been again, but that's not a new concept.
Exactly.
That's a Top Gun. Maverick was 35 years in the making. You know what I mean? It's like, and it was great. Just the same thing as Axel Foley, seeing him again, and seeing Coming to America, and seeing all these shows. Those are great. But when was it when you saw something that you had never seen before? Like when we watched the trailer for Wrath of Khan. Where it's just like you're sitting there like, well, I can't wait. When does it come out? Oh, it's in 2 months.
Yeah.
Oh my God, you gotta tell everybody, call everybody. We gotta get excited about this. This is the thing that it just doesn't happen anymore. There's no excitement. And Rick Beato was talking about music and the music part of it. He said, when he heard a record on the radio, a new song on the radio, he's like, I have to get that. He had to get in his car. He had to go get a job to work to make money so he can go down on Friday when he gets paid to pick up the record, to bring it home, take off the cellophane, put it onto his record player and play it over, then pack it up and take it to his friend's house and share the music with his friend. There was an investment in that.
Yes.
And so it was more precious to you. The music was precious to you. The films were precious. The TV shows that you and I watched growing up, this is why we still talk about these shows, because they were precious to us. They weren't all thrown at us at one time, And this to me is something that if Paramount and Skydance, now that they're taking over that, if you guys are out there listening to me, if you're listening to this, my name is John Henry Soto. Please, let's sit down and talk. Okay, I can help. I have a lot of ideas. No, but seriously, I mean, if they're out there, and I know this will never get to them, but if it does by some sheer miracle, man, make it exciting for the audience. Give them something to want to like call their friends and be like, yo, July 30th, we're going. Yo, what are you doing July 30th? Yo, July 30th. I do this. Of course, everybody's on a phone like this now. But you know what I mean? It's like, let's get people excited to want to be part of this experience.
But and you're right. It goes back to what you said before about the surveys, right? Because they should care about what John Henry Soto thinks. Because you are not only you're in the industry, but you're a customer. You're a person who and
I love
you. Right, you love that. Like you used to see that excitement with The Sopranos. And those types of shows where people were calling each other. Did you see that episode? That was great.
Seinfeld,
blah, blah, blah.
I remember Seinfeld. Everybody watching Seinfeld. Those last.
It was a phenomenon. Those things, right?
It was like a phenomenon.
You're right. They've lost the value.
Crash. All in the family.
These kids now who are growing up, right? These teenagers and these 20-somethings who grew up in this. They didn't grow up in our time. This is nothing for them. This is like, okay, we're going to binge watch this and move on.
Who pays for your cable bill in your house? You or your daughter?
I do.
We pay. We're the ones that they should be wanting to pay. The kids, it's fine. They're consuming content and they're doing their thing. But the income, they should be, if they want to make money, they should really make, content that not only young people can enjoy, but get them excited about it. And then us, our generation, we're gonna be excited because we're used to it. As a matter of fact, we want to go back to slower stuff. Don't put a hose of content on us. Give us something that we can really want to look forward to. It's a little bit different than social media content, right? Social media content is fast. You do a lot of it. You do posts. You do, it has nothing to do with what we're talking about. We're talking about well-crafted storytelling.
Yeah, but
Well-crafted storytelling, shot professionally, well, that we will look at, like we look at The Godfather, we look at The Sopranos, we look at TV shows that were shot really well, like MASH. MASH was shot on film. MASH was mini movies.
Right.
Those were 1 hour movies. They were shot. They were shot really, really well.
Right.
A lot of shows, like in the 80s, that went away because they shot on tape, and
Right.
tape gives it that soap opera look, and it's just not. It's not as memorable, and it's a 3-camera setup. But even like Lucy was shot on film because that's what they had at the time. But it had the 3-camera setup, so you can shoot high quality now with digital. That'll look fantastic. A 3-camera show, if you wanted to do those again, I don't know how popular those are now, but anything that we could really see. Here's another point before I turn it over to you. So don't forget what you were going to say. Okay.
Good.
You already forgot.
That's all right.
But we are the generation that is spoiled with masterpieces. Look at the films that came out during our lifetime, our consuming lifetime, right? Now I go early on to like Star Wars, the Godfather movies. You can go back 30 years and look at Goodfellas. You can go back at the Indiana Jones franchise. You can go back at the Back to the Future franchise. All these films are so classic,
right.
That we have been spoiled by looking at things and wanting it to give us the experience and that feeling that we had when we experienced and when we consumed. We didn't just consume these films, we absorbed them. They became part of who we are. We talk about these films today because they're part of who we are.
Right.
We're not giving that experience anymore. Kids are not, like my kids are not gonna they are, because I share with them things, like films, and I want them to get some type of culture. But if they didn't have that, they're not going to be in 10 years looking back and going, man, God, I remember that YouTube video that really made me cry or made me feel something. They're not. They're going to look at some of the movies, maybe some of the Pixar stuff, some of the Disney stuff, some of the stuff that maybe moved them a little bit as they were younger. But when they got older, we were older with Star Trek. We weren't kids.
Right.
We were older. We were teens and 20s when all that Star Trek stuff came out. Not to mention all the series and everything. Everything was shot in a completely different way, My live will end in 4 minutes for TikTok. Anyway, so that to me is part of my disappointment with the industry. I really, really hope that they can go back and at least, and I know that I want to also acknowledge that there are filmmakers out there that are filmmakers.
Yeah.
And they're making great content. And I've been to a lot of festivals and I've seen a lot of great films, and I've seen people that really get it. They get the experience of storytelling and how it can impact a person and a society, really. Quentin Tarantino people, they're out there, like Quentin, who's like an obsessive movie fan, but he knows how important it is to tell a story. Ron Howard, Steven Spielberg, Martin Scorsese, Francis Ford Coppola. These are the guys that know how to tell a story, and that to me is what's needed again. The Coen brothers, who I think have a long future ahead, they know that it's important. So when one of their films comes out, I get excited.
Right.
I get excited. Right. it's like that's what it takes. It takes filmmakers to come out and do that again.
Yeah, and no, I agree. When you and I were younger, going back to those days, whether even in music, even in all those industries, those things were mainstream. Those films were mainstream films, right? They were made by the big studios. It was huge. They were out.
It was
Like
promoted well.
everything was done well. Now those great directors now that you're young directors that you're talking about are not mainstream. The mainstream stuff is the cookie cutter, fast action, get kids in the seat type of stuff that they're going to forget about in 20 minutes. That is not going to stay with them like Godfather stayed with us, right? It's not. I mean, and the sad part is, these kids are not going to look for these young directors. They're going to look for, the latest Marvel thing on their TikTok. So, okay, we got to go see that Marvel thing. They're not looking for these, So as parents, I know you and I do it because I do it with my daughter all the time. My daughter has seen 80s movies and 70s movies only because I introduced her to it. Right. Okay. And she actually likes the well-made movies. Like one of her favorite movies is Mrs. Doubtfire, Robin Williams. She loves that movie. Okay. The Breakfast Club. She loves that movie, but she identifies with it as a teenager in school, so so she gets that. But as a parent, I had to sit with her and say, watch this because you'll identify, you'll like this. A lot of parents don't do that now. They stick their kids in front of the thing and that's it. They're done, and, so all they know is is Marvel and Transformers and King Kong, that's all they know. They don't know the good stuff. And unfortunately, it's hard to find it now.
It is. And, I think also, like Back to the Future is a perfect example. I watched Back to the Future with my kids.
Right.
They loved it.
Right.
They loved it. I mean, for me, it was like another experience I had because I got to experience it through their eyes. And I remember when I first saw it and how I was like, oh my God, this is so freaking cool. And now I'm watching it them and thinking at the beginning that they were kind of like watching it because I kind of was like making them watch it. And then they're like,
yeah, exactly.
At the end, they're like, yeah, and really watching it, and really getting into it. That to me was like such a great thing. When I was watching my niece, I think she was, I remember she was staying over or something, but I said, I want you to watch this movie, and I put on Harvey by with Jimmy Stewart.
Right.
It's a black and white movie,
Yeah.
So she was like, I don't like black and white things. I was like, all right, well, just watch the beginning, and if you don't like it, she loved it.
Wow.
She loved it. She laughed. She thought it was really funny, really clever, and she loved it. She was young, she was a teenager. And those kinds of experiences to me, and now she's doing that with her kids and stuff and showing them, the classic stuff. It really is a responsibility. Now, you and I are limited. We have our kids that we can do that. And we can do this show where we can talk about it and influence others. But really, the industry has a much more important role, and I know that, the bottom line and people like Shari, Redstone, her father had a tremendous legacy. I get it, and she took it over after he was ill and couldn't do it anymore. And she tried to do her best. It's hard, man. It's like, especially to fill those kinds of shoes, it's like, it's not an easy thing to do. And I think she was not informed well enough. I don't know who was around her, but the decisions that were made were clearly, and it's not me saying it, this is not my opinion. It's just because of what's happening right now.
Yeah.
Decisions were not well made. They were not decisions that really advanced innovation, creativity, caring about the viewer. It was about keeping the company strong.
Yeah.
Keeping our investors happy. Keeping, and it's like, well, your business is not that. If your business was selling donuts and you make great donuts, and I use donuts a lot for analogies, but if you're making great donuts and then you sell your company to another company that then starts making bad donuts, your donuts are not going to be well received. There was a place I won't mention it because there's some friends that I know would not like that, but there was a place that was a bakery that made great donuts. They sold it from the original people had it from like, I mean, it was something like 1920 something or around that time. And it was generation. I think Sean knows what place I'm talking about. And then it was sold to another person who changed the recipe of their most popular donuts. And I remember going there and I remember buying the donut. I would buy donuts and I bring them to my house. I'll bring them to the office. It was the place to go to buy donuts. You go there, and I remember thinking it was probably one of the worst donuts. I could go down to a Dunkin' Donuts and get a better donut, than that. So to me, it's and Sean says he knows what I'm talking about. He said it's never been the same. Yeah, exactly. And unfortunately, this is what's happening. With this, with I think with Shari, I think that's what happened. She was given something that was great. And when you're given something that's great, well, what do? You make it greater. You don't maintain it.
Right.
Nothing ever stays the same, right? Things are either improving or getting worse. And if you can go into a normal and your normal is about that, that's a normal. It's going up. Normal is going up. This line is not normal.
Correct.
Staying the same is not normal. You're either going to get better or you're going to get worse.
Right.
And they did not do the, especially a company that big with so much money, the innovation had to be in. That's where they had to put their money in. Where are our writers? Let's get some of the best top writers here to put out some shows for us. Let's put them in a room. Let's pay them some money, and let's see what they come up with. You got 6 months to come up with 10 shows and concepts, and let's do it. And let's get some writers, and let's get some stuff. Then let's shoot some stuff. Let's test it out. This is funny. That's not funny. This is funny. Let's put this stuff out, and let's make it happen. That didn't happen under her watch, and it's clear it didn't happen. And then the Paramount Plus situation was pretty much the last nail on the coffin because it hasn't made one dime, and it doesn't look like it's going to make a dime. And I think it's going to go away. They're going to try probably to increase and say that they're because of this merger.
I think Skydance is going to try.
They're going to try to save it and maybe add some more value to it, which I hope they do. And then, but they'll probably increase it just to make up for the loss that they've had for the last whatever years that it's been on.
No, but it's true. But and again, it's that thing that happens with a lot of these big giant corporations, because what gets lost is the customer. Because at the end of the day, right, the bottom line of that company is the customer who's paying for the product and the value that they're getting out of it, and that gets lost. Yeah. Right. We see that in all industry. We definitely see it in the health industry. Yeah. Right. We're seeing it in the music industry. We're seeing it in all these industries. They get so big and so consumed that the customer loses. This is why just as an example, in the health industry, I support smaller companies that have always had the customer first. Yeah. They're not maybe huge. They're not huge money makers. They could be, but they're not, because they don't compromise that their customers first. So maybe they don't make the money that some of these other ones make, but that's okay, because they know that they're taking care of their customers. It's more of like they're being ethical about it. They're saying, I'm gonna make sure from day one, that was my mission, and that's what I'm doing. Okay. Right. And unfortunately, these big giant companies like this, a lot of them don't do that. Yeah. They're like, their customer's an afterthought at that point.
Yeah. I think it's also because they're really massively big.
I get that, but
managing a big company when you already don't have good management, and then it gets bigger. I'll give you an example of like the health club in New York, the New York whatever it was called, New York Sports Club. It got really big, really, really, really fast, and then there's nowhere to go. Where else can you go other than you got to innovate somehow? You got to create something that's gonna, expand off of that will get people more interested in wanting to come back in again. Then a bunch of other popular. Then now it's boutiques. Smaller places are now more popular. Why? Because people want one-on-one. Yeah. People want to be cared for. So all this entertainment is really people. At the end of the day, even though they may not show it, and kids may not show it, the young people with their social media, they may not show it, but they want to be cared for. They want the content to inspire them, to make them laugh, to make them cry, to motivate them to do something, inspire them to be better. That's what they're really looking for. And what do we get? You know, in social media, we get, you know, girls dancing, you know, provocative and no clothing, and pranks, you know, seem to be a thing, you know, and there's just no value in that. You know, it's no value in that, you know, but people consume it. You know, people are consuming it. So because that's what's there, you know. But if you have the power like Skydance Media, they have the power now to do pretty much whatever they want to do.
Right.
After this is a big one for them, you know, and it's probably going to be more. They're probably going to take over a couple more. You know, I'm sure they're not going to stop there. They want to grow Skydance. I love the name Skydance. You know, Skydance is a great name, you know, for just a company. You know, it's like a great name. And I think that it speaks volumes in the name of what they want to do. You know, Skydance, you know, it's like, that's what you want. Skydance Media. It's, you know, it's you know, Paramount would sound like you would think that would be a big thing, you know what I mean? But it's been so perverted by so many years with so much, you know, I mean, at the end of the day, there's a lot of greed going on. And when you read the articles and when you watch the videos and when you see the interviews out of their own mouths, you can clearly see that they're interested in the money part of it.
Right.
You know, they're not that concerned. They may mention the consumer here and there, but the consumer is an afterthought.
That's what I was saying. Exactly. Yeah.
The consumer is an afterthought. It's about the actual money. You know, it's about selling the donuts. It's not about making good donuts. You know,
and it's one of those things. It's like, it's, you know, Shari and, you know, any of these big, you know, moguls. Okay, because when the guy from Skydance is a younger guy, right? You know, Ellison, he's a young guy, but you know, people like Shari are going to be like, listen, if this thing all falls down the tubes, I'm set. My kids are set. My grandkids are set.
Yeah, but I think she was trying also to be even more set.
Yeah.
By some of the things that were happening,
right?
Trying to make out a little bit better than what she would have made out. You know,
of course, yeah.
I think that, you know, that does. I mean, at the end of the day, if somebody told anybody, okay, I'm going to give you $10 million, but you can get $20 million. How can I get $20 million? Well, you'll probably have to do this and this and this. Okay, well, I'll do this and this and this for an extra $10 million.
Right.
You know, human nature, you want to have more. Why you want to have more is where it counts. Like, I would want to have more for my family, to set them up for their future, to set up, you know, and to basically leave a legacy, right? And to have, you know, financial wealth for the family, right? Yeah, this is a good point that it's like the story of Stax Records. It started as a family-based company with success, lost its way, and turned into accountants and lawyers. Yeah, I mean, that's, you know, and Stax, believe it or not, it's a side note, but if it wasn't for Nashville wanting to promote only blues artists, I mean country artists, and not blues artists, Stax would have been in Nashville, not where it turned out to be in Memphis. Yeah, because it was actually part of the whole thing in here in Nashville. This is where a lot of those B.B. King, Jimi Hendrix, Buddy Guy, all those guys that you know, Johnny, John Lee Hooker, all those guys would come here to Nashville. I'm in Clearwater now, but they would come to Nashville, and that's where they were. There was a street called Jefferson Street, and Jefferson Street was filled with all these blues clubs, and it was growing, and people were loving it. But the city didn't want to promote too much of the blues because they were really known for country. They didn't want to lose their country roots, so they invested only in country. So Jefferson Street is still there, and there's a museum there, a really wonderful museum that you can go and see all the the memorabilia and some of the photos and some of the streets. You could still see some of the stuff. But then they went to Memphis, where the rest is history. So anyway, a little side note, but that is what happens. You lose your way.
Yes.
You lose your way, and money can do that. And if you don't have good people surrounding you, and also have somebody at the helm that stays in present time, that knows what's going on, and doesn't just turn over everything and then just kind of heads out, or at least if you are going to turn over everything, turn it over to somebody that's 100% is doing exactly, and write it up. You have to write up all the hats for a company, right? All the way a company should be run should be written up. They should be binders. So you're talking about finances, marketing, qualifications, the promotions, the new people, all that stuff should be all written up. And every single person that starts in that company, if you're starting on a division that has to do with money, if you're starting as a treasurer, they're going to give you a binder with things for you to read and study, and those are the policies that are in place. If somebody up on top puts that together, and puts it together solidly, and then runs it for a little bit to make sure that it actually works, fix anything that really doesn't work, write policies when a policy didn't work, or when they realize something didn't work, write a new policy on that. Okay, from now on, we're not going to do that anymore. We're going to do this because that didn't work. Here's a new policy. Write it up, put it out. If somebody does that, then you can turn over the company and you'll have long-term success.
Right.
But if you don't have that, you're not going to do that. Right? The original mission statement, right? Yep. And keep it posted properly.
Great.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Yeah. Absolutely. So, all righty. Well, the merge is happening, as we all know. It's already actually happening. It's definitely happening now. I heard. I
think they still have 45 days, though. No.
I think so. Yeah, but I think that that's all you have to have that.
Right. That's part of the process.
Yeah. Part of the process because it's such a big deal. But the Edison family and the I guess it's RedBird Capital or something. I think. Hold on a second. I got it. To invest over $8 billion in the new Paramount, and to acquire National Amusements Inc. So that's going to be a big deal. It's going to receive $23 per share in cash. That's the Paramount Class A stockholders. So you can read all about this online if you go to if you go to the Paramount.com site, the news, it's all in there, and it'll tell you exactly what's the the logistics and stuff, the part of it. I like to talk about the emotional part of it. Sometimes I get maybe a little bit too emotional, but art is emotional. Art makes people feel something, and that's why it exists. It's to make people feel like hope, feel like something, like love, feel urge and yearning for something. That's what art is for, and we need to embrace that part of it. The technical business side of it is what it is. It is what it is. We need to have organizations in order to be able to manage these projects and put them out and to promote them and to get them to the masses, right?
Right.
But when that system interferes with the art, you lose the art. You lose the art. If you focus on the art of what the purpose of the art is, and you keep it pure and you keep the integrity of the product, you will have success. And that's what I'm hoping that Skydance Media does with this new merger. And I wish them the best. And I really, really am rooting for them. I'm going to keep an eye on this. Maybe we'll do another episode, maybe in a year after it's done. Maybe we'll go back and revisit this and see where they are and what has happened since then. Because I think it's a fascinating thing, and it's a very interesting time in our lives, in the country. And I think things are getting better. I think things are improving. If you watch the media, they're not, but that's not where the world is. Trust me. go out to the world and talk to people and see what's happening in the world with groups changing lives across the planet. And there's wonderful things happening. The media, they're merchants of chaos, right? Their product is chaos. They sell chaos because people watch it, and they sell Nabisco and Kellogg's and all their products on there, and that's what they make their money on. In order to get people, instead of selling love, not realizing that love is really the way to go, right? You know, love is what is all you need, like the Beatles said. But you know, they don't get that; they go the other route. So, but they are losing the battle. They will lose, and we pray for Skydance Media to take us to that promised land. All right, folks, thank you very much for tuning in. We appreciate you very much. George, as always, a pleasure. Sean, thank you for hanging out with us as always. We love you, buddy. Thank you. He says, we love you, John, and we love you, George. Thank you. We love you, man. Sean.
Love
appreciate
you.
It. Take care. Have a wonderful night, everybody. We'll see you all next week, 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for the John Henry Soto Show. George Batista, take care. Have a wonderful week. And as always, peace.